And welcome back to another daily devotion. I'm Pastor Roy here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa, and I do these devotions Monday through Friday of every week. This devotion is for Thursday, December 1st of 2022. And we welcome you here. We're happy to have you back. If you're coming back, if you're new, please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you to come back yourself sometime. We have just started this week. We started on Monday working with the book of Romans. We finished up Hebrews, and now we are in Romans. So we're still in the first chapter. Today we're going to look at verses 18 to 23. Up to this point, we've had kind of this the salutations and everything's been upbeat, and we're so proud of you, and we're praying for you, and we always pray for you, and your faith is such a testimony, and your obedience and faith and all of those things, and not being ashamed of the gospel, and going out and sharing the word, and it's all been very upbeat so far. Well, today we're going to kind of change directions, as Paul is wont to do. He often does these types of things. All of a sudden, it switches with the flip of a switch, and in the next few days, or maybe several days, we're going to be talking a little bit differently. So verses 18 to 23, this whole section through the remainder of the chapter, we're not going to take the whole thing, but the whole remainder of this chapter, all the way through verse 32, is the last verse in the chapter. It's entitled in the Revised Standard Version as being the guilt of mankind. And I am using the RSV for this study. So let's look at today, we're just going to look at verses 18 to 23. We'll pick up the rest of it tomorrow, so we'll end the week there. So we've gotten through chapter 1 in the first week of this study. So that's not doing too bad. Let's look at 18 to 23, chapter 1 of Romans. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and wickedness of men who by their wickedness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. Ever since the creation of the world, his invisible nature, namely his eternal power and deity, has been clearly perceived in the things that have been made. So they are without excuse. For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their senseless minds were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools, and exchanging the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man or birds or animals or reptiles. Okay. And of course, that's probably a bit of a reference towards different times the Jewish nation went to pagan worship, Baal, Belial, however you want to pronounce it. And then the golden calf, too, out in the wilderness. Remember that story. So this erecting these idols to worship. Oftentimes we kind of we use it for life application. We bring in our own idols and talk about that, which is good and true, but we have to be careful we don't diminish, we don't dilute. The point here is that you're worshiping something false. And not just worshiping your own wealth, but if you start worshiping your own self, humanism, worshiping the humanness of the world. That's an idol as well. We can even begin to worship things from nature, or maybe even nature itself. That could be a danger. But here it's these people that know better, because, God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and wickedness. God knows about these things, and because these people know about God, he's talking about how obvious God is. His power and deity has been clearly perceived in the things that have been made. It's really impossible to look at the world, and I was an atheist at one time too. It's really impossible to look at the world and not see that there's something behind. There's a ghost in the machine, if you will. There's something there, and of course that's why some of the people now are trying to say that we are a simulation, because they see a hand at work in the programming, if you will, of the universe, of physics, that there is a certain coding to it. When you get to the root of all of it, there are claims that it begins to look like, if not be, computer code. I'm not a computer guy, won't attest to that. I know it only enough physics to be extraordinarily dangerous, but I do find those things fascinating. But that becomes almost what do I want to say, an excuse to say there's not a God, but yet you see that there has to be a God. Something created this. It didn't just pop up out of nothingness. There's some creator somewhere. Whether you want to retroject that into it being a simulation, well, that's wonderful and great. So we're a simulation. Who created it? All of these people. Who created them? There has to be a creator somewhere within it. There is a creator, and God is obvious. And the point is here that you have pushed them away. You've suppressed the truth. You've suppressed the truth of the resurrection, is the point that I think that Paul is making here. The resurrection, the life and the resurrection of Jesus Christ is the problem. You have pushed that away. And of course, I think this is written to both the Jew. Again, he's doing this whole thing with going back and forth between the Jews and the Gentiles, and I think this is aimed at both equally here. That both are at fault, finding false gods. We just got done with Hebrews, and remember that was we talked at length about that. Obviously, it was a quicker study than I thought it would be. I'll be honest, but there. The original Christians were a Jewish sect. The first believers were Jewish, and there those people that were in that church that the letter of the Hebrews is written to were of predominantly Jewish. What do I say? Ethnicity or descent. That was what they were. They were not Gentiles. They were Jewish folks. They were Israelites, and those people. Some of them were, because the temple had been destroyed, were at a loss. And now, but the point was, are you really Christians? Because if you're really a follower of Christ, you don't need the temple. The temple is a non sequitur. The temple is no longer needed because you have the temple of Christ. And so that's the point there. But I digress. I think that's what I've got for you today. I'm going to save any more for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to finish the chapter. Gets a little dicier tomorrow and a little more controversial probably tomorrow. So I'll have to be a little more careful in how I unpack all of that. So we'll keep this one just a wee bit shorter than they have been thus far this week. Trying to keep these right around 10 minutes, and hopefully we'll be just a bit under that. If you like the videos, please like them, subscribe. If you're interested in another book, look at the playlist on the channel. Lots of different videos on a number of different books that we've done studies on. All right. Have a very blessed day, and please, please, please be a blessing to someone today. And we'll see you all tomorrow. We'll finish the first chapter of Romans. God bless.